Hey bakers, Dave here. Today I'm going to work on a new baguette recipe. It's mostly like the one from Tartine, but with a few changes in an attempt to refine the process into something more practical. Let's bake. This recipe has 3 parts: the Poolish, leaven, and dough. We'll start with the Poolish. 100 grams of AP flour, 100 grams of water at room temperature, 3 grams of active dry yeast, 5 grams of honey. Next, the leaven. 110 grams of AP flour, 110 grams of water at room temperature, 25 grams of starter or 1 tablespoon. And the dough. 325 grams of AP flour, 250 grams of water, 200 grams of Poolish, 200 grams of leaven, 175 grams of bread flour, 12 grams of salt. Let's make the Poolish. Add the water to the bowl, and then the dry yeast and the honey. Mix them together and then add the flour and mix into a Poolish. Cover and leave it on the counter for about an hour or put it in the fridge overnight. Quick tip: adding honey or sugar to the Poolish speeds up the fermentation process. You will want to coordinate the timing of both the Poolish and the leaven for baking if you're using that. Speaking of which, let's make the leaven. Add the water to the bowl and then the starter. Mix them together and then add the flour to mix the leaven. Cover and leave on the counter at room temperature until ready to use. Mine looked like it needed about 8 hours, but because I hadn't worked with leaven before, I only gave it 4 hours, hoping it would be ready. You'll see at the end of the video why I should have given it more time. Pro tip: grab a couple of small glasses and fill them with room temperature water. Then put a small scoop of Poolish in one and a small scoop of leaven in the other. If they both float in the water, they're ready for baking. If not, give it a little while longer. Next, we'll make the dough. Add the water, Poolish, and leaven into the bowl and mix. Then add the AP flour and bread flour and mix into a dough. Let it rest for half an hour. And at this point, unlike when I just used my regular country sourdough recipe for baguettes, I noticed that the dough was barely coming together. However, this is fairly similar to what happens when I do the tartine recipe for baguettes. Try not to worry if your dough looks like mine at this point, and it's a little tough to work with at first. Just let the dough rest for 30 minutes. Before moving on, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, leave me a comment down below and let me know how you make your baguettes. Okay, let's proceed. Now we will begin to do the stretch and folds like we do for the sourdough. Much like sourdough, start by adding the salt and then starting the stretch and folds by pulling up on a corner and fold over the dough until you work your way around one full turn. You might notice that I forgot to water my hand on the first one. Try not to forget like I did, or you could end up with sticky dough all over your hands. Perform the stretch and folds a total of 4 times, separated by 30 minutes each. I think next time with these, I might try to be a bit more gentle with it and not stretch and fold so much. Just one pull on each corner, at most 4 times, during each session to make sure I've gone all the way around. The dough is ready for pre-shaping. Add some flour to the counter and take the dough out of the bowl and put it on the counter. Use a bench scraper to divide the dough into 3 equal portions. Take each portion and shape into a rectangle and leave on the counter. Then cover the rectangles with a towel and rest for half an hour. If you have one, grab a baguette couche or a baguette proofing pan and flour it. We are now ready to shape the baguettes. This step can be tricky to do well. I still need practice with it myself. Basically, grab one of the rectangles and then grab the far side of it. Pull it up and over the dough and press the edge of it down into the dough. Grab the right and left sides of the dough and stretch until it is about twice as long. Then fold the closest side into the dough and press close with your fingers and seal the seams closed. Next, try to use your fingers and palms to roll the dough out into the classic baguette shape. In my case, I go artisan with it and make the ends a bit pointy. But you can go with round for the edges if that's the way you like to do it. When you have a length that is good and not too long for your oven tray, go ahead and put the loaf on the couche or a towel or the pan and raise up the sides of the towel or the couche to support the baguette, but leave a little room for the dough to expand. Repeat the process with all the rectangles and place them next to each other on the couche or towel for proofing and leave on the counter. The baguettes should get a bit higher, but mostly wider, and it could take up to 3 hours. Mine took about 2 hours. About an hour before baking, preheat your oven to 500 degrees and use the middle rack. If you have a baker's oven or a steam oven, great. If not, you'll need to steam your oven for baking. Unfortunately, my mixing bowl method from my 5 things video for sourdough won't work for that. But if you have a Challenger bread pan or a baguette baking pan, that will work, and you'll need to preheat them in the oven for about an hour. Bake with the steam or lid on the pan for about 15 minutes at 475 degrees. Then turn off the steam or take the lid off and bake for an additional 15 minutes or longer if needed. You're looking for a deep golden color on the baguette. When done, serve warm or let cool on the rack. Alright, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll get notified when I post new videos. Let's see how these turned out. From the looks of things, the baguettes rose really well. However, upon cutting them open, I see that I didn't quite achieve the result I was looking for. They baked really well, but I was looking for a much fluffier interior and not so dense. I forgot to get a shot of me eating them, but they were delicious. Next time, I'll definitely plan ahead for the leaven and work on my shaping technique. I think that will get a better result. Well, that does it for this one. Take care.